In this episode of the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast, we're going to be talking about some shocking truths about leadership's hidden struggle, and that is mental resilience or mental toughness, however you want to say it. It doesn't matter because it's the same thing. Today, we're going to be diving into talking about some statistics around mental toughness, mental resilience. We're going to talk a bit about Andy Frisella's take on it and what it matters to you, as well as my take on the issues at hand today. And then finally, we're going to talk about some game-changing strategies, how you can empower yourself to be the toughest, mentally resilient leader that you're meant to be. You're ready for this one, folks, because it's going to be jam-packed. All right, let's do it. Welcome one, welcome all to the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast, a weekly podcast series dedicated to helping you hit peak performance across the three domains of leadership, those being leading yourself, leading your team, and leading your organization. This podcast couples my 20 years of military experience as a senior Canadian Army officer with world-class guests to bring you the most complete podcast of leadership going. And for more, feel free to check out our website at movingforwardleadership.com. And with that, let's get to the show. Yes, welcome one, welcome all. It is your Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy, and thanks for tuning in to the first episode of 2024. That's right. 2024 is here, and I've basically been, taking some downtime, to be honest. Taking some downtime from the show, from the business overall. But I'm back, I'm charged, and I'm ready to go, which is interesting because it kind of goes hand in hand with today's episode in talking about mental toughness and mental resilience in leaders. It's so important in this day and age because so many people out there, and no doubt, maybe you yourself, you're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I'm so tired. Just so tired. I'm stressed out. I just feel like I can't do anything, etc. Guess what? You are not alone. And that's what we're going after in today's episode. And make sure you listen through to the end because I will be making an announcement where not only can you get help with mental toughness through this announcement, but you can also win something with it. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. So be sure to stick through to the end and listen into this episode, especially if you find yourself dragging and you find yourself feeling mentally weak and run down, because we're here to help today. So first off, let's go and dive into the bad stuff, right? Let's dive into some statistics here. So we got an article in front of me, which is basically an article smashed together of all kinds of different studies. So I like actual studies because to me, these are just someone's opinion, but rather actual scientific research. So let's look at the research for now. In 2021, a work and well-being survey from the American Psychological Association found that 3 in 5 workers, so that's 60%, reported experiencing negative mental and physical impacts due to work-related stress. 26% noted a lack of interest, motivation, or energy. 32% reported emotional exhaustion, and 44% noted high levels of physical fatigue. So that's one. Let's keep it going. Indeed, that's the big recruiting company, staffing company, revealed that more than half of the workers reported felt feeling burnt out, a disconnect between various age groups, and then while only 31% of baby boomers only identify as feeling burnt out, 59% of millennials reported as being burnt out, and 58% of generation or Gen Zs. So some interesting stats there. Dilaudid, the big pharmaceutical and medical company, reported that 77% experience burnt out from their current job. In 2021, a Mental Health UK study revealed that 46% of workers felt prone to extreme levels of stress compared to the year before. Okay, let's keep in mind 2021. Now, my immediate counter argument to that was that 2021 was the thick of COVID. That definitely would have had some impacts because 2020 was really the kickoff. I feel like 2021 we were like in the thick of it, and then 2022 we were coming out of it. So I'm going to take that one with a little bit of grain of salt. However, a 2022 survey of 15,000 workers across 15 different countries by McKinsey Health found that 25% of employees experience burnt out. And then finally, last stat I will throw at you because your eyes are probably glossing over now, is that 76% of respondents in a Mental Health America and Flex Jobs study agreed that workplace stress affects their mental health, and 75% experience burnout. So the moral of the story is those are some pretty extreme numbers, right? Those are high numbers. And this is why mental toughness is so important, because you don't want to be one of those members of the extreme numbers. You want to be in the minority. And the fact is, what we want to do is flip those numbers on their head. We want the minority to be the ones who are experiencing the burnout, the mental strain and stress and all this stuff. And meanwhile, everyone else is still able to cope, deal, and get on with whatever it is they need to get on with. So that's why this podcast episode is so important. Now, I had to listen quite some time ago. This is not, let me rephrase this. This is not a new topic. This has been discussed for years now. At least I would say 4 or 5 years now. Mental toughness, it's been around for quite some time. Heck, there are like dozens of books written on just that. You got David Goggins, for example, talking about it in his various books. Okay, you got former Navy SEALs Mark Devine, former guest of the show, talking about mental toughness. You have all kinds of different, authors of psychologists that are writing on this. So the moral of the story is, if you go ahead, you hit Google and you just go books, mental toughness, like you're going to find a dozen books on it. And in fact, positivepsychology.com has a list of 14 different books of which what they believe to be the best ones. So Developing Resilience by Michael Nehan, Resilience, A Practical Guide by Carol Pemberton, Resilience by by a group of authors. It keeps going. Angela, The Resilience Club, Goggins, Ross, Egley, and so on. I'm not going to go through the list of the 14, but you get the point. So the moral of the story is that there are plenty of things written on it by various people. Now, quite some time ago, Andy Frisella had a podcast episode talking about the state of affairs and mental toughness. And his basically premise was that we as a society are getting weak. So he subscribes to the ideology, And for the ladies listening, please, this is not my words, but rather basically a saying that's been going around for a while, but take it with a grain of salt, please. And that is, strong men make good times make weak men make hard times make strong men. So what they're getting at is that because we have so much comfort in this day and age in 2023, we have everything at our fingertips. You want a pizza? It's here in 20 minutes. You want to order up anything? Amazon's got it for you next day delivery. Heck, you might be able to have it within the hour of a drone dropping it off. You want to get a coffee, fancy coffee, you go through the drive-thru, right? The moral of the story is we have everything at our fingertips. And what he's talking is that nothing is actually difficult anymore. And because of it, we're getting soft. And when we're faced with adversity, people are crumbling. And part of me has to agree with what he has to say. And the other part, I'm not too 100% sure. Not 100% sold. But I do kind of agree with the fact that mental toughness does come out from facing an appropriate amount of adversity on a consistent basis. So, if it's difficult for you to do something, then as you do it more and more, it gets easier. So, for example, if you have a hard time speaking publicly, the only way to actually get over that is to speak publicly. And that is the adversity, speaking publicly. So therefore, you turn around and face the adversity by doing more of it, and you actually go and grow towards it. Okay? So that is kind of what I think. And that's where I kind of lay. Andy's position is a bit extreme to that, and he's basically calling out society as a whole for being weak, that we can't do anything anymore. As soon as someone faces some kind of adversity, we crumble. If we get too cold, we turn up the heat. We get too hot, we put on the air conditioning, etc. These are Andy's arguments towards it. So it's interesting. It really is interesting. But at the end of the day, you can talk about Andy's point of view, but we have to get on with it. So what are the different aspects to mental toughness? And essentially there are 4 agreed upon components. And they are confidence, control, commitment, and challenge. All right, so let's dive into them, shall we? So the first one, control. Control is that basically, in order to be mentally tough, you have to understand and master control. And control is your ability to regulate your emotions, thoughts, actions, even in challenging situations. So a lot of this comes out of self-awareness. A lot of this comes out of emotional intelligence, understanding, okay, and self-regulation. So a person who essentially fires from the hip immediately whenever they're faced with some adversity, i.e. loses it, blows up, etc., is actually not mentally tough, despite showing the facade of someone who's mentally tough. On the other side of that spectrum, obviously the person who goes over in the corner and starts hugging themselves, hugging their knees and rocking back and forth in the corner is obviously not mentally tough neither. You need to be able to regulate your emotions, your thoughts, and then as well as your actions. You can't, quote unquote, lose it. You have to keep your composure. So some ways to do that is through tactical breathing, as Mark Devine has taught on this podcast a couple times, where you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and carry on. Okay? And you do that for a few minutes, and that will actually calm down your nervous system. Okay? So that is one way to maintain control. I talk about having the condor moment, i.e., just taking a moment, realizing the situation, what it is, not jumping directly into action, but taking a step back, assessing, bringing yourself to ground, okay, and then finally start thinking about what actions need to be done. That is another practical way to exercise control. And as leaders, we need to exercise control because it's important for what? Our decision making. We as leaders need to make decisions. In order to make decisions in challenging times, you have to be mentally resilient. You have to be mentally tough to take those decisions on. So, control. The next component of mental toughness is commitment. Okay? Commitment is the fuel that propels mental toughness forward. All right? If control is the start, commitment is basically the accelerator. Gets you going. It is your unwavering dedication to goals despite obstacles or setbacks. How many times have you said, I'm going to do something, and then you have a setback for that goal, and you go, oh, see, I knew I couldn't do it. That is not mentally tough. The thing you need to do is actually go, okay, what went wrong? What went right? How can I do it better so this problem doesn't occur next time? I've talked about this many times on the podcast, and it's referring to the after action review model, i.e., asking yourself 4 questions. What went wrong? What went right? What went wrong? How can we make sure we fix the mistakes? And then how might we do it better in the future? Ask yourself those 4 questions. And what that's going to do is set you up with basically the steps and give you the guidance to overcome whatever obstacle you faced in the past. And no matter what, you stick to it. And as you stick to it, the commitment actually becomes part of your mental toughness. Because you're not giving up. Much like those ultra marathon runners who run 200, 250 kilometers in a race. They are committed to it. And they keep going. So that's commitment. The next component to mental toughness is the core of it, and that is challenge. Again, it goes back to what Andy talked about. This is where Andy and I actually see eye to eye, in that many things in life right now, we've made it easy for ourselves. So when there's no challenge, things get easy, we do get a bit weaker, and we become less able to cope with adversity. Challenges are actually opportunities for growth and learning. Yet we've seemed to have developed a culture where we run away from challenges when we should be running towards them. The people who are excelling in the world right now are not those who are running away from challenges, but rather those who are running towards the challenges to make, ironically, these comforts that we speak negatively about. It's interesting. It's quite the paradox, isn't it? You know, you think of the Musks and the Bezoses of the world, right? Jeff Bezos made Amazon. It was a huge challenge for him. He had to stick it out forever. But then Out of his garage, he created Amazon, which became what it is today, a company that delivers us basically anything we want within 24 hours to your doorstep. That provides the comfort. But he wouldn't have grown. He wouldn't become mentally resilient if he didn't have that challenge in the first place. If he had all this comfort and then he decided one day he was going to make Amazon, he likely would have failed because there was no challenge leading up, building up towards it. Much like Elon Musk, when he was trying to get SpaceX up and running, and they were having failure after failure, right? These challenges were the things that kept him going and embracing it. He embraced the failures and learned from them. And the fact is, he talked about it on an podcast episode where they only had enough money left to launch their last rocket. If that rocket failed, they would have crumbled as a company. You want to talk about stress? We're talking about millions of dollars on the line, hundreds of people's jobs, and most importantly, the dream about privately being able to go out in outer space. But sure as heck, they launched that rocket. It was a success because they learned from it and they were able to achieve success. So you need to go ahead and basically adopt a challenge mindset where you're going after and looking for these challenges and slowly building them up a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder, more and more, so that they don't seem to be so high or such a big cliff that it scares the crap out of you and you go, oh, I can't do this, I give up. But rather, they're basically incremental challenges that add up to become bigger challenges throughout, and going after them and basically sticking to them, as in committing to it. And then finally, the last C of mental toughness is confidence. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can overcome this. You have to have this unwavering belief in yourself. No matter what, you can do it. Why? Because I believe in you too. And I know you can go after anything. Because you're here, you're listening to this podcast, that tells me you want more. You want to develop yourself as a leader. You want to get after it. And you have the control, looping back to the first one. And you need to commit to being confident and challenging yourself with putting yourself in different situations where you can grow your confidence in yourself and becoming the best leader you're meant to be. And with that, I now have a challenge for you to develop your mental toughness, your mental resilience. And going back to what I talked about earlier, where I said there's some things that I agree with Andy, and there's some things where I don't agree with Andy, I do like the challenge that he developed, and that is the 75 hard challenge, a challenge that I took on a number of years ago. And guess what? I'll fully tell you, I failed it my first time. But you know what? Did I sit there, moan, cry about it? No. I kept going. I still completed it the 75 days, despite knowing every day after I had missed one of the tasks, core tasks that I had to do, knowing that I had actually failed. I still went in every day, acting, challenging myself as if I had not. And that was the commitment. And the results will speak for themselves. The 75 hard challenge is, many people believe, to be a physical challenge, but it's not. It's a mental resilience, a mental toughness challenge. And myself and members of the Leader Growth Mastermind are taking this on this year. In just less than 2 weeks, we're going after it. 22nd of January, 2024, we are taking on the 75 hard challenge. Now, that being said, there are some options, because literally it does scare the crap out of some people. Remember what I talked about earlier, how it needs to be a bit incremental, right? So if it scares the crap out of you, good. But at the same time, if it scares the crap out of you where you go, I'm not doing that, well, okay, we need to have a conversation here. So what I've developed for our mental resilience challenge are 3 different tiers. Tier 1, simple. You stick to the 75 hard challenge as it was meant to be done. And you're wondering, what the heck is it? Anyway, what is this challenge? For 75 days straight, you are to complete 6 tasks. Task 1, take a progress picture. Task 2, read 10 pages of a self-help book. No, you can't listen to an audiobook. No, you can't listen to some or read some kind of nonfiction book, some love romance novel or something like that. Okay? It has to be some kind of self-help book that you read. So that's 1, that's 2. Task 3, pick a meal plan, stick to it. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be keto, it could be Atkins, or whatever. Pick a meal plan and stick to it. Okay? You can even develop your own. Say, I'm going to have 3 main meals a day with no seconds and 2 healthy snacks a day. Okay, great. That works. Just carry on. Task 4 is to complete 2 45-minute workouts per day. Now, that being said, how do you define a 45-minute workout? Right? Doing yoga is definitely a workout. Walking is a workout. Lifting weights is a workout. Running, of course, is a workout. You get the point. It's not necessarily having to be in the gym crushing it for 45 minutes twice a day, but rather doing some kind of exercise that gets your body moving twice a day. And by the way, yes, you cannot stack them. All right? You can't stack them. They have to be separated. The next challenge, the 5th task you have to complete every day, it's no alcohol. That's right. No drinking whatsoever. All right? You can't have alcohol. And for some people, that's not a big deal. They generally just stick away from it anyway. But from others, that can be a difficult thing, right? Lots of people out there enjoy just having a drink with dinner. I myself enjoy having a few pints of beer on the weekend. Nothing too crazy, but you have to stick away. And then the final task, which honestly for me is the most difficult one, and that is drink a gallon of water a day, which is actually the double recommended amount of daily water intake. Okay, so progress picture, 10 pages of a book, 2 45-minute workouts, meal plan without cheating, gallon of water, and no alcohol. That is tier 1. You stick to the challenge as it was meant to be done. Tier 2 is where you can modify. I'm allowing people to modify it, right? Again, it's that whole thing of, holy crap, right? To the point where it scares you, then maybe you need to lessen it a bit. So the tier 2 enables you to achieve that, but at the same time, going after the core tenets of the challenge plus developing your mental toughness. So the things that you can change is progress picture. Maybe you don't want to do a progress picture, but rather you would like to change it for a activity photo. That's cool. We can accept that. The 2 45-minute workouts, okay? So you might be able to change it to maybe you want to do 2 30-minute workouts because you actually don't train that much at all right now. Or you want to be able to stack them together because due to your life situation, your family commitments, you don't want to be a delinquent parent or get fired from your job. Therefore, you must stack them together. Or maybe it's 2 30-minute workouts instead. Again, the moral of the story is here, not to make your life worse, but make it better. If you feel you need to do that, cool. We'll go on with that. And then finally, the last thing that you can change with the tier 2 is the gallon of water. So for some people, that is an extreme amount that actually, if you drink too much water, actually can be not healthy for you. So if you're like a petite person, a gallon of water can actually be not healthy for you. So I actually have no issues with it. But I do have issues with simply drinking that much water, but it doesn't affect me per se. And then finally, the final tier is what I refer to as the sampler tier. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the tier 2 rules and then assign a certain percentage of completion to it. So if you were to complete all 6 tasks for 75 days straight, that makes it 450 basically task completer. Let's call them check marks for the simple sakes. Now, if you say I want to achieve 80% compliance over the 75 days, instead of 450 check marks, you get 360 check marks. That's what you're going after. So if you're the type of person who has never challenged yourself ever before, and you're scared to death, but at the same time you're interested and you want to do something, you feel like you need to do something, this is a great starter here for you, just for you to get a taste of what it is to challenge yourself in this type of manner, because so many people out there simply don't. Right? They don't do it. And then you probably wonder what you get out of it, right? So you sign up for this, what do you get out of it? Well, the first and most important thing is you're going to get an accountability partner, someone to be there by your side day in, day out, someone for you to check in on, someone to check in on you. Accountability partner instantly means about 60% more chance for success. Okay. We're going to develop a specific challenge section within my platform for the Leader Growth Mastermind so that we are completely focused there within that. As well, we are going to set you up for success, not just at day 75, but day 76 and day 81 and so on. So there's going to be a program set up to kind of wean you off, because you can't go from 0 to 100 and back down to 0 again. That is not going to achieve that long-lasting success. And then next is rewards. You complete the challenge. Everyone who completes the challenge gets a reward, the members of the mastermind. So the higher the tier level, the bigger the reward. All right? So just keep that in mind. A little something to say congratulations. And then the most important thing you will get is a sense of accomplishment like never before. 75 days is long. You're going to hate it in the middle of it. You're going to curse me. But you'll want to stick it out. And once you do, just like I did, regardless, even though I failed, you'll have this sense of pride. All right? When you get it done. And if you check out the show notes for this by going to leaddon'tboss.com/283, you'll see a comparison photo, the physiological comparison photo of myself from the last time I did this in 2021. So 3 years ago now. All right. You'll see the side-by-side where I dropped almost 20 pounds, and basically over 13% body fat from my body. But that was just the physiological one. The psychological change led to the development of the Leader Growth Mastermind and its execution, its birth. That was the psychological, me believing in myself and doing the research and knowing that despite me being a military officer by day, I can run a business at night. And here we are. So that's what you get out of it. If you're interested, you're ready to take that jump, you want to challenge yourself and develop your mental toughness, now is the time. So how do you do it? You need to be a part of the Leader Growth Mastermind. You have to sign up to the mastermind in order to get all this support. You can do the challenge yourself. But in order to get all the support and all the things that I am going to provide you, you have to be part of the mastermind. All right? In order to do so, just go to leaddon'tboss.com/mastermind and sign up from there. Or simply just fire me an email, scott@movingforwardleadership.com, and I will gladly guide you through. But the moral story is this, is that it's time. Now is the time for you to challenge yourself, push yourself, and achieve the greatness you were meant to achieve. And this will definitely help you do so. So with that, are you ready for it? I can't wait to see you there. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, lead, don't boss. And that's a wrap for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast. But you know what you could do to truly support the podcast? And no, that's not leaving a rating and review. It's simply helping a friend. And that is helping a friend by sharing this episode with them if you think this would resonate with them and help them elevate their performance level, whether that's within themselves, their teams, or their organization. So do that. Help me, help a friend, win-win all around. And hey, you look like a great friend at the same time. So just hit that little share button on your app and then feel free to fire this episode to anyone that you feel would benefit from it. Finally, there's always more. There's always more lessons around being the highest performing leader that you can possibly be, whether that's for yourself, your team, or your organization. So why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the show via movingforwardleadership.com/subscribe. And until next time, lead, don't boss, and thanks for coming out. Take care now.